And welcome back to my channel. I've been getting so much positive interest and feedback from this Scam Savvy series that I'm thrilled to bring part 3 to you. And part 3 is all about taking action. Now, if you're new to my channel, I just want to say welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you, and we're going to hop right into it. While I'm queuing that up, I want to introduce myself to you in case you are new. My name is Abby Ritchie, and I am the founder of Senior Savvy. And I started this amazing company about 5 years ago. We help older adults with their technology, and we teach them the basics, and we give them a foundation so that they're ready to connect with family and friends and feel confident about it. Now, today we are going to talk about how to protect yourself online. I am a huge online security and privacy and password nut, so you're in the right place. We're going to talk about what to do after you discover a fraud, how to go about reporting one, because you've got to report it to build awareness, right? And in part 1 of this series, we talked about awareness, and part of that is when people are reporting their scams, people are then aware that this particular thing is happening. We're going to talk about how to help someone, a friend, a neighbor, a loved one, when they have fallen a victim. And we're going to talk about my personal password strategy. So first, let's hop right into this and talk about protecting yourself, especially when it comes to protecting yourself against identity theft. Now, you're going to want to protect your documents. And what I know from my students is that you are really good at shredding things, at tearing things up, taking a Sharpie and marking out your address before you throw it away. And I applaud you for that. If you've got to mail something really important that has your personal information, medical information, documents, that kind of thing, tax, I want to encourage you to take them to the post office and mail them directly there. This way, you cancel out any threat that someone might be taking your mail. Now, you don't have to do that for everything, all right? I'm not saying go crazy. I'm just saying be selective, all right? When it comes to your social security number, again, a lot of my students are really good about not sharing a social security number. You were taught it, I was taught that same thing, but you can always ask some questions, especially if someone's really pushing you towards that. You can always ask them, well, why do you need it? How are you going to protect it? And would you accept any other form of ID? So there are a few organizations that are going to ask you to verify your social security number, maybe your bank, maybe the IRS, but you want to be very particular about who you share that with. Additionally, you want to protect yourself online and on the phone. And whenever possible, I want to encourage you to lean into that multi-factor authentication, okay? Or something that's called two-factor verification. And I know a lot of you hate the code, right? The code, it's that code when you log onto your bank account, then they're going to send a code to your phone or code to your email. And I know you hate the code, but here's the thing about the code, guys, it's verifying your identity in more than one way. And you want that because you want the extra security every time. So lean into it. Get good at checking the code and going back to the website and entering it. Now, a lot of my students ask me for help with this, and we go through the mechanism of it a couple of times to get you really comfortable with checking the code and going back. I get the struggle, but again, I want you to lean into it because it will be protecting your identity in more than one way, and you want that. So let's say you've been scammed. Now what? What are you going to do? On the next couple slides, I'm going to show you what to do, and then we're going to kind of repeat it again so that you can take notes. So the first thing you're going to want to do is contact your state consumer protection office. And it really is going to depend on your local state, okay? But you can type in state consumer protection office in Arizona. This is the URL, the website link for mine. Another excellent source, and I'm going to talk about this a couple times now, is the FTC. The FTC has several scam reporting websites for different types of fraud. If your information was stolen, the right place to go is identitytheft.gov. identitytheft.gov. You can take specific steps to protect yourself depending on what information was lost. Additionally, you can place a fraud alert both on your credit and with your bank in the event that an imposter tries to open up more accounts under your name. Now, when you go about reporting a scam, the first thing I want you to do is collect your information. You're going to need information like email addresses, fictitious or not, receipts, phone numbers, all of that associated with the scam. And again, you're going to go to your state consumer protection office. So right here at the top of the screen, it says usa.gov/state-consumer. So if you want to pick up your phone, take a picture of that because I want you to be able to jot that down in the event you need to go there. Next, we got the good old FTC. See, I told you I was going to explain it and then I was going to show you again. So here's your chance to write this down. If you need to report a fraud, the FTC has a reportfraud.ftc.gov website, and they will take you through certain steps to report your scam online. Additionally, the FTC, again, has another site where you can report any identity theft that has occurred. If your information was stolen, your social security number, your credit card, your bank details, go to identitytheft.gov and report it there. If you do need to place an alert that your identity was stolen, you can do that with your credit report. It's called a fraud alert. And USA.gov has an excellent site that can help you identify any fraud and bring them to justice. So that's USA.gov. They have a scams and fraud site that will really break down the most current scams for you. Now, let's say that your identity was stolen. Here are some steps that you can take right here and now in order to protect your identity. First and foremost, contact a monitoring service. Now, you may already be using LifeLock through Norton, which is great. In that case, go with Norton. If McAfee is your virus protector, you're going to want to stick with McAfee. And so you're going to want to get a monitoring service to alert you to anything that's happening on your account. You're going to want to review your bills, your credit reports, your bank statements, and you guys are already good at this, so it's not going to be hard for you to do. If your identity was stolen, number one, notify your banks. Number two, use that fraud alert. Number three, freeze your credit. And number four, report it to, do you remember what I said a couple times? Have you been listening? FTC, that's right, report it to the FTC. Finally, what I want you to do is change your passwords. And I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. So hold that thought right here and why you should do that, okay? Because right now, I want to talk about how you can possibly help a friend, all right? A loved one, a neighbor, maybe a sister or a brother who has been a victim of a scam. And you know what? I've been a victim of a scam. I'm kind of a trustworthy person. I like to believe the best in all people. And so there have been times that I've been taken just because I want to see the miracle in everything, don't you? So when you're helping someone, skip the blame and the shame, and instead think about their intent, which may have been that they were trying to help someone out, right? Always listen with compassion because they already feel guilty, they already feel shameful, they already feel stupid, and you don't want to add to that. Also, you're going to want to explain why reporting matters because the more people report this particular fraud or this scam, the more awareness is generated. And because of that, when it's top of mind, you can push those off, you can avoid them more often. And if you saw part 2 of this series, that's exactly what we talked about, avoidance. And that's what I want you to do. Now, let's talk about one of my pet topics, and that is your passwords. And here's why this is so important. Now, when I work with you one-on-one, and we're going through and we're updating this account or this password, or we're logging in here and there, what I see is that y'all are using the same password across multiple accounts. I know you're doing it and I still love you. Okay, so let's just knock that off. But what I want to teach you is that if a hacker logs in to your grocery account and you're using that particular password, and they get in there, they're going to try to use that same password across your other more important accounts. And this is one reason why you should not be using the same password across multiple accounts. People typically, you're using the same password across 3 accounts. No judgment here. I want to now teach you what to do instead, okay? So I came up with this password strategy a couple of years ago. And the reason I came up with it is that I am often helping you reset your Wi-Fi password. It's not my favorite thing to do, but I do it anyways. And what I've noticed in the past when I've come over and I'm looking for your Wi-Fi router, I lift it up, it's a whole gobbledygook of numbers, and none of it makes sense to anyone except the cable people, right? Or whoever printed that on the bottom. But what I started to notice was that the cable provider started to print the Wi-Fi password on the bottom of the router, which I think is genius. You know why? They're not in the business of passwords. They're in the business of cable, and they don't want to be answering your calls all day about what your Wi-Fi password is. So they started to print it here, and I noticed that it was long. 2 words, elbow autumn, 2 unrelated words. Now I noticed this over and over and over again because I lifted up your Wi-Fi router and I read it so many times that I thought, oh, they're onto something. 2 unrelated words. The reason they're doing that, they're using 2, is to make it long. Because in the olden days, we would use an 8-character password. And that's all we needed, right? An 8-character password. But nowadays, they want us to do 10 or more or 12. And here's why. Are you ready? An 8-character password can be hacked into in 2 hours. A 12-character password can take 2 decades, and you want that, all right? Even if you don't think you're going to live that long, I still want you to have that. So what I want you to do is come up with 2 unrelated words. Okay, red chair, that doesn't work, guys. Okay, blue kettle, that doesn't work. All right, as you're looking around your home and you're looking at a dictionary, you can even go online. There are some random password generator websites. No doubt, you can pick and choose words, 2 that you would never see together in a dictionary or in a book. All right, they don't go together. Elbow autumn, there's no such thing as an elbow autumn. Okay, so you need these 2 unrelated words to give you the length that you need to have. Okay, so as I'm picking up these Wi-Fi routers, I'm reading all of these 2 unrelated words. Comedy bagel, there's no such thing as a comedy bagel, right? Never read about it, never hear about it. Rain, gleam, 2 words not going together. Guitar, brook. Okay, so these words, they don't go together, but they create length, and you can remember them. You and only you, not your 2 dogs' names, not your 2 streets that you lived on. Okay, you need to be more unique. You need to be less sourced, so no one can find out that information about your dogs on your social media website, okay, or your page. So these 2 unrelated words, they are your passphrase core. Core, that's right. You're going to reuse these 2 unrelated words over and over and over again. And while you're doing that, I want you to choose 1 or 2 of the letters in which you're going to capitalize. Now, in many instances, people like to capitalize the first letter of each word, which is fine. And actually, I don't really care what you choose to do as long as you stick with it, agree to it. Because part of this password strategy is coming up with an agreement between yourself and your brain and maybe your spouse about what your password strategy is. Not just some random thing that you come up with, but there's a strategy here. So within this strategy, you've got to figure out which letter or letters you're going to capitalize, but keep it consistent, okay? Because after you figure that out, and in this instance, I've capitalized both words, right? I've capitalized both words, elbow and autumn. That's just my system. I'm not saying you need to do it. The next thing I want you to do is come up with the number, right? Because these passwords, they need to be long, they need to be case sensitive, and they all need to have a number, right? And so I want you to choose a number, not just the number 1, like we do, so many of us, but I want you to look at the website name. And I want you to count up the number of letters in that website name. Now you can do that and you can add 2 more. I just like the first 3 letters. To me, it looks like a ticker, right? Like a news ticker. So for instance, The number of letters in the Mayo Clinic website typically would be 4 for Mayo. The number of letters in my chart, 7. The number of letters in Phoenix Children's Hospital is too long. And so in that case, I just take the first word and use that, all right? And so in that instance, the big number you're going to use is going to be associated with the website address, okay? And when it gets too long, you just take the first word, all right? I don't like to count all those little, no. That's an agreement. I have it with myself because you're going to sandwich that number. You're either going to put in the beginning, in the middle, at the end of your passphrase core. And you're going to stay consistent on that. Next, you're going to choose a special character because that's what they always ask us to do, right? They say you need a special character. And it's typically 5. So just choose one of those 5. Don't make it so special that they're going to tell you on the next website that they don't accept that special character. So it's usually the exclamation point, the percentage sign, dollar sign perhaps, and question mark, right? So choose one of the regular ones, okay? In this instance, I've chosen the exclamation point, and I'm going to stick it at the end. That's the agreement I have with myself. I have my passphrase core. Both words are capitalized. In the middle, sandwich in the middle, the number of letters that's in the website name, okay? And then at the end, I've got my special character. Now, here's where it gets brilliant. Are you ready? Here's where it gets really, really good, because in this situation, what you're going to do is you're going to make this password unique for each and every account you have. Okay, so if this is the Mayo Clinic, you're going to take the first 3 letters and you're going to tag it on the end or tag it in the beginning, tag it wherever you want, just agree on it with yourself. All right. In the case of my chart, MYC, I'm going to put it at the end. In the case of Phoenix Children's Hospital, I'm just going to take that first Phoenix, PHX, and I'm going to tag it on the end. And this is what makes it unique for each account, so that if you came up across something like this, Target and Amazon both have 6 letters in them, right? In which case, the beginning of that passphrase core would be the same. Elbow 6, autumn, exclamation point for both Target and Amazon. But when you tag it at the end or at the beginning, wherever you decide, that's what makes it unique to Amazon. So at the end of this one, you would put AMA. At the end of Target, you'd put TAR. Netflix, elbow 7, autumn, exclamation point. That kind of all stays right there. And then I'm tagging it with NET. Uber would be Uber 4, autumn, exclamation point, UBE. You picking it up? Now here's the long one, okay? We're going to talk more about variables in just a minute. The long one here, Bed Bath & Beyond. That's too long for you to be going, it's too long. So you're going to take the first letter, the first word, and you're going to use the BED, and you're going to tag that on the end. So it's going to be elbow 3, autumn, exclamation point, BED. Now, when you're doing this, there will always be variables, always. Weird things will always happen. I know it does. So when the website URL is long, you're going to agree with yourself and your brain and your spouse that you're just going to use the first word. In this case, it's center, and that has 6 letters in it. Bed Bath & Beyond, you're just going to do BED and 3. Mountain View Family Help, you're just going to take the first word, mountain, and then the number of letters in the word mountain, and you're going to agree on it. Okay, if you can't use a certain special character, use the next one on your list, but agree on what that special character is. This way, you have a strategy. When you have to reset the password, what I often do is I will move one segment to the front. That's what I often do. Or I will capitalize the letters in the website name. That's my strategy that I have agreed on with myself. This way, I'm not just making it up when I have to reset it, okay? And you definitely want to start logging these, because anytime you get and you start a new system, you gotta log it, right? So that you can track it, because our brains may not be as sharp as they used to be. So here are some options. First, there's just a password log. You can type in password log, print one off, and start writing it in there. Totally a-okay, fine. A little small. One of my favorites is this password notebook. It's 8.5 by 11. That means it's big. You're not going to lose it. It does not look like a password book. It's $6 on Amazon. It has great big spaces in there that's all alphabetized. Because what I see a lot of you doing is this. You're using an old address book or a teeny tiny password book that gets lost. How do I know it gets lost? Because you've called me, you've asked me to come over and help you find it. It gets lost in a stack of files. It gets lost under your bed. It gets lost behind your desk. And you asked me to come over and look for it for you, which I love doing. I love helping you, but I want better for you. I want bigger. And so I will encourage you to get this one. Okay. But what I don't want you to do is just write it on a Post-it under your keyboard. Okay. That is not a strategy. That is a mess. All right. So I always get a couple questions, and here they are. What about using a password manager? Absolutely. If you like using a password manager, I recommend LastPass or 1Password. Both of those are great. A lot of my students like them. A lot of my students are leaning into them because you only have to remember one Master Vault password. If you hate it though, this is not going to be a good fix for you. All right. A lot of people don't trust them, but probably 70% of people are using them and like them. What else? What's a VPN? A VPN is a virtual private network. And where this comes into play is if you are susceptible to hacking. It's happened to you before, it's happened again. It's time for you to beef up your security. And one thing that you can do is install a virtual private network. This way, no matter where you are, if you're at Starbucks, if you're at the library, if you're in the airport terminal, you will have your own private network to protect your security. Here are some of the resources that I just talked about. And I'm going to keep this up here on the screen so that you can lift up your phone and take a picture of it. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to let you know you can reach out to me anytime. All right, on the next couple of slides, I'm going to show you just how to do that. But if you have a question, if you have a comment, if you have a concern or a suggestion, I want to hear about it. And here is how you can connect with me. I am on Facebook. You can connect with me here on Facebook. There's my email address. There's my phone number. Seriously, it would ring right here and I'd see that you would have a question. If you want to reach me on LinkedIn, I love LinkedIn. I'm there. You can connect with me there. And on Instagram, which you probably are not on, but all your kids are, and then YouTube. So I create a lot of these videos, and you know what? I put them on YouTube as well. You feel free to reach out to me anytime. It is my honor and a privilege to serve you. Thank you.